ushering in Mark Carney and coordinating him, making sure that the Liberal Party doesn't truly have democracy, has come to be, ladies and gentlemen. It has been official after the Liberal leadership race, after the so called campaign trail. Mark Carney is next to be the Canadian Prime Minister after winning Liberal leadership race. Former central banker will only be the second Prime Minister in Canadian history without a seat in Parliament. This is an article from The Guardian, and obviously this is one of the big conundrums that we have pointed out. One of the big conflictions of Mark Carney is the fact that he is not an elected MP. He has no riding. He has not been serving in Canadian politics for quite a long time. He has three different identities, three different citizenships, and he's deeply connected with business affairs with Brookfield and the WEF, just to name a few. There's a lot of confliction with Mark Carney. So Mark Carney, the former central banker who oversaw the response to the financial crises in North America and the UK, will become the next Prime Minister of Canada after winning the race to lead the country's federal Liberal Party. Carney takes on the role as Canada is locked in a potentially catastrophic trade war with the United States. Long its closest allies and largest trading partner, last week Donald Trump announced a 25% tax on all Canadian goods with a carve-out for the automotive and energy sectors. The tariffs have the power to push Canada's fragile economy in a recession. Now, folks, I'm no economist. I'm no political wizard. I'm just a guy on a shoestring budget podcast delivering you the news. But I'm pretty sure when you have over 2 million people, 2 million Canadians a month at the food bank, when you have a homeless epidemic, when you have tent cities across every single province and metropolitan area and city across the land, I kind of think you're already in the recession. I know it's not favorable for the political classes. That's why they keep lying to you and keep manipulating you to tell you that, oh no, it's not a recession. It's just a little blowback. We're gonna bounce back up. It's like a bouncy ball. We're not in a recession. Just like how after COVID, the Liberal Party, Justin Trudeau and Mark Miller, the immigration minister, wanted to tell you that the reason they opened the borders and flooded the country with illegal mass migration is to save us from recession. Because, hey, when we shut everything down and everyone became unemployed because of COVID, we had to get some workers, so we're going to just trade off and send it off to a bunch of immigrants that corporations can use for cheap labor to save us from recession. That's what they disclaimed you. That's what they disclaimed. That we're saving you from a recession by opening the borders and causing a mass immigration crisis after they shut everything down. America is not Canada, and Canada never, ever will be part of America in any way, shape, or form, Carney told supporters, laying bare the existential crisis that has outraged Canadians, riving the long-standing relationship with the United States, and promises to be overreaching theme in his tenure as Prime Minister. Carney said that while Canada has not asked for the fight, we will win. Before the announcement, the outgoing Prime Minister Justin Trudeau electrified the crowd by telling Liberals he was damn proud of his government's legacy. But he warned of dangerous time for the country. This is a nation-defining moment. Democracy is not a given. Freedom is not a given. Even Canada is not a given, he told supporters. He also drew on the elbows up rally cry to intense applause, a phrase from ice hockey legend Gordie Howe, popularized in recent weeks after threats of Trump to annex Canada. And for those who don't know, it is a well-known hockey term that elbows up. That's, when you try to knock out your opponent that's trying to steal the puck from you, you take your elbow. That's where it comes from. But now they're trying to use it as a means to attack America, because America is not sympathetic to understanding why Canada is angry with them. It has nothing to do with the fact that we have a fentanyl crisis. It has nothing to do with the fact that we're killing our own economy to the point that Trump could easily put these tariffs on, and he did it purposely as a motivator, as an ultimatum for our government to get themselves together. Carney said that, it is unclear when Carney, who was the governor of Bank of Canada from 2008 to 2013, and governor of the Bank of England from 2013 to 2020, will assume office. Trudeau and the new Liberal leader are expected to hold conversations in the coming days to determine the outgoing Prime Minister's final day in office. Just, again, to remind you that this is just the Liberal leadership race. They still have not brought together to the House of Commons. There's still the procuration till March 24th. So almost the end of the month here. That finally government actually gets back together to do something. As more tariffs are being introduced, as they're going to increase the carbon taxes on April 1st. No joke, April Fool's Day. And we're hopefully, maybe, because now they ushered in their selected choice, not elected, selected, that maybe we get government to actually do something and respond in accordance with all this. With 85.9% of the vote, Carney beat the former finance minister, Chrystia Freeland, the former government House leader, Karina Gould, and the former member of parliament, Frank Baylis. Carney has followed an unusual path to power. I love how they downplay that. Unusual path to power. Not suspicious, not catastrophic. He will be the second prime minister in Canadian history without a seat in the House of Commons. While no rule bars this, convention suggests Carney will need to quickly announce plans to run for a federal seat. He will also be the first Liberal Prime Minister from Western Canada, a valuable identity in a country that is politically divided along geographical lines. Well, isn't that interesting? They say he's from Western Canada, but he goes around with his banker buddies and proclaims that he's a European. And he has 3 different citizenships. So what exactly is this guy? We have no idea. We're just learning new things as this goes on. We're finally getting more information about his horrendous business ties with Brookfield. We're finally getting an understanding of his horrendous tenure as the governor of the Bank of England. We're finally getting notice about that. And all of a sudden, boom, he's ushered in as the new interim prime minister. Without any confrontation, any accountability whatsoever. Go democracy here in Canada. Go democracy. Carney spent much of his campaign pitching himself as an outsider, despite years-long ties to the Liberal Party, including serving as an economic advisor to Trudeau, the outgoing prime minister. Yes, he's the outsider insider. His definitive victory, foreshadowed by fundraising success and a spat of key endorsements from senior cabinet members with vast organizing networks, could energize the incumbent Liberals. He's such an outsider that he gets corrupted organizations to back him with millions of dollars of dark money contributions. He's such a great outsider that he's deeply inside the trenches of corruption. That's how great of an outsider he is. In recent weeks, the party has reversed its political freefall, sharply rebounding to such a degree that a previous expected conservative majority in the next general election looks increasingly unlikely. Well, now we got, as we showed on Friday's stream, that the NDP, the Green Party, and the Liberal Party are coordinating together to try to prevent that. To try to prevent the possibility of a conservative majority. Because they have painted Pierre Poilievre as another Trump, as a Trump populist. And since this is the neoliberal establishment bubble that they have cultivated for so many years, they don't want it to be popped by someone like Pierre Poilievre. Even though Pierre Poilievre governs no differently than them. Pierre Polyev is 100% on Ukraine board. Pierre Polyev is 100% Israel. He's a Zionist. Pierre Polyev governs no differently than them, but because he sounds a bit of an outsider, that scares the bejesus out of them. Just like they did with Trump in America, the Democrats ganged up and tried to prevent him from running for office. Now they want to do the same thing with Pierre Polyev. That's democracy for you folks. That's what's happening with democracy. And it's been happening for such a long time now. It's not Trump that's taking away Canadian sovereignty. Canadian sovereignty has been dissipating for years. And finally, people are starting to wake up to this. In a leaked memo, the left-wing federal New Democratic Party recently warned its members Carney would probably call a snap election within days of winning the leadership race, capitalizing on his rising popularity and depriving the opposition parties to rich political optics of bringing down the Liberal government through a vote of non-confidence to force an election. The move in the polls is in part explained by repeated threats by Trump to annex Canada. In polling, Carney is widely viewed as the most trusted federal leader to navigate the current trade crisis because of extensive economic background. And the reason for that is because no one knows about his economic background. All they keep telling you is, oh, he's Trudeau's economic advisor, and he served 2 governorship boards at different banks when Canada won the UK. But they don't tell you how that went out. They don't tell you that he almost bankrupted the country of England. That's what the former Prime Minister Liz Truss said on camera, that Mark Carney was not to be trusted. And our media has failed to tell people that. And that is why they're so brain dead and cult sheep following Mark Carney to praise him as the wise man to fix all the problems that the Liberal Party created. We wouldn't be in this tariff war without the Liberal Party shenanigans. And now they want to come out as the saviors to stop this. It's hysterical. Absolutely hysterical. My government, listen to this. My government, this is what Mark Carney says. My government will keep the tariffs until the Americans show us respect. So, Mark Carney is not going to solve this problem. Mark Carney is deliberately trying to keep these tariffs on as much as possible because it gives them political leverage. And it gives them political power. Because now, if we continue down this economic warship with America and threats of ongoing tariffs, it makes Mark Carney look like the tough guy. And the media peddles their conspiracies against Trump to bolster Mark Carney to keep him in power. The guy solely responsible and part of the administration that got us to this position. Carney also attacked the conservative leader Pierre Polyev, the current frontrunner if an election were held soon, calling him a career politician who was running a deeply divisive campaign. Division won't win in a tariff war, Carney said. But in recent weeks, several fumbles have underlined the challenges in moving from the corporate world to politics. You think? Like, talk about the pot calling the kettle black. Mark Carney, who has huge, deep corruption with corporate and political malfeasance. That he's solely responsible for engaging the Canadian government to get involved into carbon taxes and depleting our energy supply in Alberta, crushing our economic stronghold to flourish his own company that was investing in fossil fuels overseas, in other countries. You don't think that's conflicting? You don't think that's considered a career politician, that you now want to run the country of Canada, that garnished you billions of dollars, that garnished you a bunch of money through your own private equity firm? Jeez. Uh, Carney has waffled over his role at the investment firm Brookfield Asset Management, which, when it moved its headquarters from Toronto to New York, a politically sensitive issue given recent pressure from the United States on businesses to uproot and move south. His attempts to clarify the issue prompted the Globe and Mail's editorial board to praise him as a fast learner in the art of provocation and hair splitting. They praised him. They praised him. Oh, look at this guy. He's thinking on his feet by lying to you, gaslighting you, manipulating you. To the entire general public, who's now the interim prime minister. He has promised to put his substantial assets, believed to be valued at more than $30 million, into a blind trust immediately. Well, I haven't heard any news about that yet. So, that is, again, all this is suspicious. All this is suspicious. All this. Speaking before the new leader was announced, former Prime Minister Jean Chrétien said Trump had united Canadians like never before and jokingly called on him to receive the country's highest honors as thanks. Well, isn't it kind of funny, because the more Trump puts these tariffs on Canada, it's actually elevating the Liberal Party that caused this dilemma. It is remarkable that Trump's actually helping the Liberal Party more than he realized. It's helping more of Justin Trudeau and Mark Carney and Chrystia Freeland than Trump would probably want to happen. He was hoping that it would crush the Liberal Party, considering they're the ones responsible for the fentanyl crisis, for the open borders policies, for the fact that crime and just absolute disparity has roved the entire country of Canada. It's helping them. It's helping them. So, Jasmine Lane, people know her as the Overopinionated on YouTube. She has a show there. Shocker. Unelected Mark Carney is the new Prime Minister of Canada. She lists all the places there. There's fourth place Frank, third place Karina, second place Chrystia, first place unelected Mark Carney. Yet Donald Trump is the biggest threat to our democracy, though. That's what the mainstream media will tell you. That guy who appeared out of nowhere has 3 different citizenships. We have no idea about this guy. Just got ushered in and coronated to replace Justin Trudeau. But yet Donald Trump is the threat. Donald Trump is the threat to Canadian democracy. That's what they want you to believe. That's how the mind trick of the mainstream media has put upon people. And people just eat that up, because for years they've been siphoning down that garbage, the garbage propaganda, and being shielded and blinded by the fact that the corruption is right in front of them. Their democracy's already been threatened years ago, not by Donald Trump, but by the WEF, by international conglomerates like Brookfield, that Mark Carney was a part of. Here's Pierre Poilievre, who announced Liberals are trying to trick Canadians into electing them for a 4th term by replacing Trudeau with his economic advisor, Mark Carney. It is the same Liberal team that drove up taxes, housing costs, and food prices, while Carney personally profited from moving billions of dollars and thousands of jobs out of Canada to the United States. And none of that ever got mentioned. None of that ever got mentioned. In fact, the closest thing that ever got accounted was when Ruby Dalla, who was another Liberal contender in the race, got kicked out because she was about to go on the debate stage and question Mark Carney about all this. And the Liberal Party got so scared that they had to come up with conspiracies and manufacture lies to say that, oh, she was breaching trust of donor money, and she's suspicious, so we got to cancel her out of the election. So, this guy, Roman Baber, says, this is what Mark Carney said in his speech. I know how the world works, and I know how to make it better for all of us. That doesn't sound dictatorial to you, right? That doesn't sound at all arrogant. I know how the world works. I know how to take care of you guys. I know how to deal with this. Shut up. We'll rule. You just shut up and be serfs. Sounds like a true visionary for the WEF. You'll own nothing and like it. That's what that tells me. That's what that tells me. I know how things work. I'm smarter than you. I'm here up on stage. You're a bunch of idiots, and I'm going to control all of you. How arrogant and full of himself. We don't want your net zero dictatorship, Mark Carney. So, Ruby Dalla, who remember got kicked out just moments before the debate stage, and the Liberal Party conspired into trying to oust her as much as possible, coming up with claims and allegations of mishandling financial reports and mishandling donor money. Everything but the kitchen sink was thrown at her. So she states, thousands of members I signed up are mad at the Liberal Party because they took away their right to vote. 5.8 million engaged on Twitter that the coronation by the Liberal Party was an attack on Canadians' democracy. Hundreds are waiting for the $350,000 to be refunded. So you remember when we talked about Ruby Dalla being kicked off the Liberal ballot, that we questioned where that money was going towards. All the people that were contributing to Ruby Dalla's campaign, that now she got ousted by the Liberal Party due to conspiracy, due to suspicion, due to allegations. What were they going to do with that money? They should have returned it. That would be the most legal thing. That would be the honorable thing to do. But they didn't. And we had suspicions that they weren't going to return it. So that money that people paid for Ruby Dalla's campaign, that they thought they were going to get back because the Liberal Party canceled her campaign, went towards Mark Carney. That's complete corruption. And the Liberal Party refused to tell donors that, refused to tell people that. And now you got enraged people within the party that are so angry because they paid money for Ruby Dalla. She got kicked out by the Liberal Party, and all that money went right to Mark Carney. They didn't vote for Mark Carney. They didn't want the money to go to Mark Carney, but it went there anyway. That's how much the Liberal Party just screwed you. Just keep that in mind. The Liberal establishment at work for Canadians with a leadership race that was an illusion. So, and that's a response to Mark Nixon's post here where it says 400,000 registered. So that's 400,000 people registered in the Liberal Party. Only 150,000 of them were qualified. How many people signed up to vote for Ruby Dalla only to realize the race was a Mark Carney coronation and walked away? So, it goes to show you how they rigged their own party's election. Just like how the Democrats screwed over Bernie Sanders, screwed over Tulsi Gabbard, screwed over their own members, get people like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris elected, and people like Hillary Clinton, who bought her own leadership ticket and lost to a game show host. And these are the same notorious thugs that want to lecture you about protecting democracy. Hey, we got to stop Pierre Poilievre because we got to protect democracy. Hey, you can't allow to share thoughts on Instagram and Twitter because we got to protect democracy. As they kick people off their own party's ballots. So here's CBC News openly stating that they only had qualified members, that they personally rigged it in favor of Mark Carney. And they're praising this. Listen to this.
Of those two candidates with the economic experience, he's the one who represents change, right?
That's right, exactly.
And so, look,
Right off the bat. Well, out of the candidates, he best represents change. Yeah, that's right. Just saying enough times, yeah, he's changed. He's an outsider. Yeah. I mean, he works at the WEF and Brookfield Asset Management, and he's almost screwed over the country. But he's an outsider. He's an outsider insider. Yeah.
Of those two candidates with the economic experience, he's the one who represents change, right?
That's right, exactly.
And so, look, 400,000 people signed up to vote in this. More than 100,000 voted, but there have been some issues with the validation process and the voting process. What's your sense of how much that might be affecting this race?
So, over 400,000 people were listed in the Liberal Party, but then they said there was qualifying issues. There was issues in validating the responses. So that may have affected the race. You think? I wonder what votes and what voters were disqualified. Makes you wonder.
Yeah, I actually talked to the caucus chair today, Brenda Shanahan, who is remained neutral in this, but she told me that there are a lot of people working on this. And she did say people of her generation are having a harder time with the app than others.
Right.
Take that for what it's worth. But there are a lot of people, MPs, people inside the party who are there to help people through it. I think we're...
So they're openly stating that, hey, there's a bunch of deep party insiders that are helping the people navigate, kicking them off their own ballots, disqualifying them to vote in their own party. They're really helping people, those deep party insiders that have already invested in Mark Carney and are deeply invested in Brookfield, deeply invested into the mass amounts of corruption that have eroded democracy here in Canada for many years, who have no interest in serving you, no interest in serving the people within even the Liberal Party. They're really helping people by disqualifying people to allow Mark Carney to be ushered in and coordinated without actually having a proper election. Wow.
Up to about 150,000 verified voters. I don't think it's going to delay results on Sunday. That is not the impression I'm getting. Remember, you can still vote up until I think it's tomorrow at 11:59 p.m. You can still get verified. So it was a bump in the road for sure for some people, but I'm not sure it's going to result in a change in terms of when we find out who is the next leader. Yeah.
I know it's going to cause a problem and dilemma with people, but I don't think that's going to change the results of the selection. See, they're not openly stating it, but you could definitely tell they're feeding around the bush. Yeah, I know people are going to be troublesome into actually voting the candidate that they want, but I don't think that's going to affect the overcome vote. I don't think that's going to affect the outcome. Because we know that Mark Carney is going to be ushered in. We know that we won Mark Carney because Mark Carney is deeply embedded with the WEF that personally have just vilified against Canada and just taken over like a bad virus. And it literally is amazing to me that so many people that are scared and petrified at the idea that Donald Trump's going to take away Canada's sovereignty don't realize that Canada's sovereignty has been already jeopardized by the WEF for many years. That the reason we have Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland and the worst politicians is because of people like Klaus Schwab, who openly stated we penetrate Trudeau's cabinet. We wouldn't have these people if it wasn't for them. So our sovereignty is pretty much a joke. But now because Trump's put his hat into this manifesto, now everybody's so up in rage about, oh my God, Trump's taking our sovereignty. And not screaming about this. They're saying that this is good. They're saying that Mark Carney getting ushered in, oh, he's like a hero. This outsider hero that has a bunch of corrupt business dealings. Yeah, he's going to save Canada. Wow.
Yeah.
So, that got even more interesting. So, that was a couple days ago on the CBC, where they said that, yeah, we're going to kick people off the ballots. It's not going to affect the outcome. We already kind of know who the outcome is going to be. But this is actually kind of really surprising. Was later on, even the CBC, one of the members there, even had to call out Justin Trudeau. And it's shocking. It's shocking that the state public broadcaster, I know I air quote public because we know about the CBC and their corporate dealings, had has even the moxie to do this? I'm really shocked by this. Fred Delorey calls Trudeau a terrible prime minister on CBC, and Rosemary Barron, practically faints. Or is it Barton? Is it Barton or Barron? I can't recall at this point. He accumulated more debt than all 22 prime ministers before him. CBC panel melts down trying to defend Trudeau. You're gonna want to see this. So this may be the most interesting thing that the CBC has compelled to say during this Liberal leadership debacle. And it's actually so surprising that this was broadcast on there. Listen to this.
Very quickly, but Fred, I'd love your take on Justin Trudeau's legacy.
And I would love to get it, fan.
And critically, that question about whether you think anything will hold. You know, it would be hard, I think, to undo daycare now, right? Like, there is an expectation for it. You could, but it might be hard to do. So give me your thoughts.
There's two things. There's two parts of his legacy. Liberal leader, I think he will have a strong legacy as a leader of this party who brought it from 35 seats when you folks worked there to majority government. And then he won 2 more elections. Like, he is a good campaigner. He was a good Liberal leader. I think he was a terrible prime minister, as none of you guys will be surprised to hear me say.
Really?
Terrible,
That's
absolutely.
harsh. Okay.
He accumulated more debt than all.
Terrible? Really? That's harsh. That's harsh to say that after we just got $600 million from him. Really harsh to say that. I mean, you don't want that other guy, because then he's gonna like cut our broadcasting budget. Oh, that's harsh for you to say. I don't know if people realize this, especially in the CBC land, but majority of Canadians have way harsher words for someone like Justin Trudeau. And when I was digging up this article and putting the final touches together, I saw a lot of the reaction of Justin Trudeau's final days. And let me tell you, a lot of it is not safe for me to even say on YouTube. So for him to say that he's a terrible prime minister for accumulating debt, for almost putting us in war, for the lackluster policies that have completely eroded this nation to the point that Donald Trump is threatening tariffs against us, calling him terrible is the least you could say about Justin Trudeau. The least. But because this is the CBC, remember, and they just got huge amounts of money from the Trudeau government to keep them afloat, to not hold them accountable. That's what even Trudeau said right to the media's face. They're freaked out by one of their own stating this.
All other 22 prime ministers combined before him. And I know he's had some issues to deal with COVID and other, but he blew the doors off of us in terms of our fiscal capacity. I also believe under his leadership, Canada's become much more divided. He's supposed to be this uniter, this sunny ways. He was a wedge issue politician at a very aggressive rate. And the last thing is the economy and where we are now, and where Mark Carney is about to be coronated as leader and said himself a few weeks ago, the Canadian economy is weak. We are dealing with the Trump issue because we have a weak economy here. We have issues that we need to deal with on this. We're not in a good position, and it's because of the last 9 years of his government.
I think though.
Whoa. Whoa. That's too much information there. Okay? I just want you to say that Trudeau had a, decent legacy because he cared about the LGBTQIA plus issues. He went to a Taylor Swift concert. Like, I think he's good with Ukraine. Say good things like that. Don't mention about the harsh. Oh. Because then that's going to make me feel bad as a newscaster for not presenting those facts. And sadly, this is why the CBC is tanking. This is why nobody has really respect for the CBC. Which, I honestly, in my opinion, I feel sad for them. I truly, genuinely feel sad for the CBC. Because at one point, they were a reputable source. At one point. Back when probably Peter Mansbridge was hosting the National. Maybe back in the early 2000s. It was a reputable news source. Now it's just denigrated to this. That As soon as one person has a conflicting view about the prime minister, now that he's out of office, now that everything's on the table, people are aware of the lackluster legacy that Justin Trudeau has decimated on this country, because he openly stated that, oh, no. I want you to say he's good. He's okay. And that Mark Carney is going to be a good champion. He's going to bring people back. After the how many years that they have continuously divided Canadians and continuing to divide Canadians. It's honestly amazing that the people that are so, up in arms and trying to support Canada and Canada strong when it comes to the tariffs still want to decimate on other Canadians, because they just have a bit of an outsider view to it. That maybe they're actually using critical thinking to understand why we're in this mess. People have been attacking me for not being more supportive of Canada. And I'm literally shocked, because I'm the one that's actually trying to defend Canada from being taken over by the United States, which I doubt Donald Trump wants to take over Canada. I don't think that's the intention. I think the intention is that, hey, you guys are screwing yourself, and we're not going to be tied to you as a trading partner if you're continuing to decimate on yourself. So pull your act together, deal with the fentanyl crisis, deal with the border security issue, get your country back to some sort of normalcy, so you can actually have a country that prosper, and then we can deal with that after. But it's just amazing that the mainstream media, the political parties, just all completely ignore the situation, because they're so ignorant, because they're so narcissistic, that all they're trying to do is make political leverage out of it, even though it's going to destroy the entire rest of the working class of Canadians. That this constant tariff war, that the carbon taxes, the complete siphoning of our economy to support nations like Ukraine, it does nothing for Canada. It does nothing for this country. And so Justin Trudeau's famous legacy is how he siphoned out Canada to the global dictatorship. And that's how Mark Carney got selected in. Not because, people think he's a good politician and, he's just a simple Canadian. No, he's a globalist with 3 different identities, 3 different citizenships, and has a long track corruption record that needs to be held accountable, that the CBC will never hold to account, will never inform you about it. And it comes down to people like me, a smart-ass Canadian on a shoestring budget podcast in his basement. And they're freaking out because, oh my God, one of our guys said that Justin Trudeau is terrible. That's the least you could say about someone like Justin Trudeau. Bye-bye, Felicia. Here comes the new boss, same as the old boss. And the only hope we can have after this, now that they finally picked a leader, now that this is finally over, let's get a damn election forward. That's the only thing we can get out of it.